Jim, how's it going, buddy?
I am doing great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, hell yeah. We might need to turn your mic up a little bit or move it closer to you. Boom. Hey, that's all right. This is
the most
MLO Project
listened.
Unfiltered.
That's it.
This
Is that
is
better?
Jim had a little bit of an issue there, folks. For you at home listening to this, the
Microphone.
little side table microphone decided to take a little
talk that direction. How's it going?
Is that better?
Yep, that's
Yep.
good.
Good. Awesome.
Much better.
All right. Yeah, how we doing? This is so just for anybody who's watching this, we've done this once before, but you didn't get to enjoy it because I messed up and didn't hire professionals like we have this time. I mean, it was he was a professional, but it was just my fault. I didn't format the SD card before we started recording, and so really sore subject. But we're here. And 5 months later, Jim, you weren't at the last high table.
I was not at the last high table.
What are your impressions, my friend?
I'm loving it. Lots of great information. I guess a little overwhelming, right? I think it's the amount of information being shared, just how open everybody's been about what's working, what's not working. I'm going to be able to take a lot back and extrapolate into our businesses. So very, very excited for the opportunity and can't thank you enough for having me here.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. You're trying to think. You're the only non-broker here.
Correct.
Right, but you're in our industry.
Yes.
Tell everybody listening what you do, my friend.
So we do pretty much everything that brokers don't want to do, right? So the licensing, the compliance, the call reports,
Are you kidding me, Jim? That's exactly why people get into becoming a broker owner, is for exactly what you just said. So I don't know who you've been talking to, but
apparently they've all been on. But it's as a former broker owner myself, one of the divisions that I've always had for what we do is to try to help people not step in the same puddles that I stepped in, right? So the mistakes that I made. I think many of us get into this, and we're very successful loan officers, and we decide, well, the next level is to become that broker owner, not realizing that we're very much that technician, right? We're great at loans, but there is a whole nother component to it, right? There is compliance. It doesn't have to be super scary. I think a lot of people overestimate how difficult that will be, but with the right support, in setting up systems and processes, it's actually a very, very manageable situation for, I would say, most brokerages out there.
Oh yeah. No, definitely not the fun part of being I mean, if there is a fun part, I think that this is a great industry, but what you do is definitely not the fun part. So
no, we chase a lot of people out of rooms. You say compliance, and most people run, but.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
You mentioned puddles that you stepped in. Mm-hmm. I always love hearing about other people's mess ups. It makes me feel better about mine.
Where do you want me to start?
That's why he pounced all over me at the beginning of this one. He's like, hell yeah, Frazier misstepped. I'm all over it.
Yep.
I think it was just not setting up processes, right? I mean, when I think about the average loan officer, broker, if I ask them about their story, tell me about the perfect loan process, right? They start rattling off without looking at a piece of paper. There's no cheat sheets. There's no anything. They're able to start funneling off 5, 10, 20 different things that are mandatory for them. That has to happen to have the perfect experience for their client. I'm very much into the idea that you need to do the same thing for compliance. Right? Here's the 5, 10, 15 things you need to do to make sure that at the end of that file, you've got it packaged up with a nice little bow on it. There's not much else to do. So that when an examination comes around, you're ready. It's not scary. It doesn't have to be. So again, it doesn't have to be complicated, but that was my big fail. Right? Like I never had those processes set up. So when the examiner did show up, and this was back in the early 2000s where you didn't get an email 3 weeks in advance. They just knocked on the door and said, hi, we're here from the state. It was very different, right? Yeah. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have those processes in place. And it was a pretty horrible exam. And what I want to make sure of is other people don't have to go through that, right? Set up those processes. And yeah, I do remember that was a week of my life that I'll never get back, and I certainly don't want to ever relive, was that examination period. So I think, again, if I were to go back in time, I'm going to set myself up to make sure I understand what that looks like when they do show up.
An examination period, is that like an audit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's the new politically correct term. Because the examiners don't like to be called or have it called an audit any longer. It's a state examination.
Why is that?
I think they think it sounds nicer.
Debatable. I
It's-
never liked exams growing up.
Yeah, I don't know about a state examination being any more palatable than an audit, you know?
Apparently, they feel it's much more palatable to call it an audit.
Yeah.
But either way you call it, it's the same thing. And they're going to make you go through the processes, and every state's different. But again, I mean, I think the base fundamentals of staying compliant are always the same. Right?
Yeah.
It's just, I always say it's data, right? How well do you have your data organized that you can retrieve the information when you need it?
Jim, I'm going to have you do something real quick. Is move that table closer to the ottoman in the middle, and then so that mic is picking you up when you turn your head and are talking, so that way we catch more of that.
Which
No,
microphone is he
sorry,
on?
turn the mic the mic
Or turn
closer
that up a little bit too.
to Michael, or toward, because that way when you turn your head
Okay.
and talk, it's going to catch that.
Here, I can bring it down.
There we go.
In fact, I'm going to do the same thing. Practice
Sweet.
what you preach.
So how many are you going through any exams right now?
Right now, we've probably got 35 to 40 state exams going with clients around the country.
Jeez, that you're in the middle
Yes.
of right now.
In the middle right now.
Wow. What are you seeing on exams right now?
A lot is call report issues.
Oh, okay.
People not having their data organized. They turn in a call log that shows that over the last 2 years they've done 200 loans. Their call reports have 40, or vice versa. The call reports have 500 because they're including pre-quals and pre-approvals that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
A lot of things on advertising, making sure that I think it's a hot button. People going out there and putting rates and things like that out on social media without the proper disclosures. Advertising things that they may or may not give full detail around. Those tend to be the biggest things we're seeing right now. We are starting to see some of the states jumping more into LO comp. Information security is, as Jason and I have talked about several times recently, information security is a major thing going on in the industry with AI, with all the data breaches we've seen in the financial sector. Information security is also front and center.
And what type of questions do they ask around that? Like, do they bring somebody special in that knows a lot about technology infrastructure, or do they just have a checklist that they're going through? Like, what does an information security finding look like?
So first and foremost, they want to know that you actually have a policy around it, right? What do you mandate? And it can be as, it starts out as simple as, are you using dual factor authentication, right? So that you're actually having additional security on machines. Are you checking your systems? That's one of the big things that I see that the clients don't do. They'll have some systems in place. They'll have their antivirus and they'll have firewalls, but there's no testing mechanism to find out if they're working. So we recommend there's a couple different companies that are out there that you can hire to help you with those, because they not only help you put the infrastructure in place, but they'll also test it and then provide you the backup reporting so that you can show that you're meeting the requirements and you have the documentation to show it.
Is that like a lighter version of pen testing?
Yes.
And social engineering, that
Yes.
type of, okay.
Yep. Internally, the company that we use, I even have them doing back behind the firewall phishing test on my own people. So that they're sending them emails, and if they get a fail 3 times, they get to go take another class on phishing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's those types of things are getting more and more.
Oh, for those that don't know, pen testing means penetration testing, right? So also to go along with the state examination, I guess, right?
Right.
Keeping fun things to talk about, but so that's penetration testing, and so as a lender, we would have that done once or twice a year, That was developed based off our own internal policies where they would try, back then that was more on-prem services, servers, tech, stuff like that. And so you have a lighter version of that. Plus, the biggest one is phishing, because that's where you see wire fraud. That's where you see an email from the CEO to the CFO. Hey, make sure we wire this money or this or that. You see that. You see the wrong instructions. And so I've been with companies where that's happened. I know it's happened at my company where someone got an email or a call and they're just going on it. We had this one. This was like the worst one. Is even though we had very proper, because I built it all of policies and procedures, security things you can do, cannot do. Had an IT department, and we had one of our processors get called, hey, this is IT, I need you to do, something that was just totally to me, just obviously not on the up and up. And she got, I'm sending you an email. It was an email, wasn't from one of our people. Clicked on the link, allowed them remote access to. This is a mortgage company, right? So she's a processor. She's got access to our entire LOS. And so luckily our IT guy was there around there and saw and was like, what are you doing? And anyway, and she got terminated on the spot. But that's, again, just a very simple phishing, deal. And a lot of people don't do any of this.
And we're seeing a lot of phony CDs.
Oh yeah. That's the big one. I get those every week.
I do too.
Yep.
I'm not even originating,
Yeah.
and you get the here's your CD. Getting a lot of secure documents from clients or something that looks like it's coming from clients. I've even had the ones coming to me that it looks like that it's somebody they've hacked into, or not hacked into, but they've looked through our domain and saw all the different people that are there, and they'll have I need you to change the
my payroll.
direct deposit and things like that to try to get you internally. So
we've had that happen.
But those are big things that are coming. I mean, I think we've talked also about the integration of AI into people's business models. We haven't seen that start on the state exams yet, but I anticipate that those questions are forthcoming fairly soon as they get their arms around it. I think footnote is, I think many people thought when CFPB was all but disbanded, that state examinations and these types of issues and regulation and oversight was going to diminish. To the contrary, what we've actually seen is the state attorney generals and the regulators themselves have actually amped up their state examination efforts because of it.
Because there's there's less overlap, right?
Correct.
So it's less stepping on each other's toes.
And for the broker community, it's actually probably worse because, unless you're in that really severe upper echelon or doing something pretty nasty, the CFPB was likely not coming out to visit the majority of brokers. So, but with that, having been, removed, we're starting to see an escalation on the state levels.
Are there any commonalities, indicators of companies that you've seen that are a higher risk for findings on their exams, on their audits? Isn't are there trends that you see, correlations that you see that the average person wouldn't think that a company that has all Mac users is more likely to be, you know what I mean? Just weird trends like that you see that.
I don't know that.
And what are the names of the company?
Yeah. Where are they?
Part two. What are the names of those companies?
If I had the list, I'd be targeting them as new clients. But not really so much on that level.
I mean, cloud versus local, local servers and stuff like that. Anything like that that's oh shit, these guys are probably going to be a bigger.
Or maybe
bigger risk.
a focus on channel, meaning these guys do a lot of consumer direct advertising or something like that.
There's either that or it's some of the models that we see out there in terms of the way that things flow, right? I think that there are some companies out there that are going through more scrutiny because they're following a model where they've got dialers and certain people are reaching out to clients.
Unlicensed activity type stuff.
Exactly. That you've got people tiptoeing into the area where they're taking applications that they shouldn't be, or they're getting into conversations that they shouldn't be prior to handing that off to a loan officer.
On that note, do you VAs are obviously a bigger a trend right now. A lot of people like outsourcing, especially brokers, to VAs or VA services or like. What do you see on exams as it relates to VAs? Anything like, do they dig deeper in that, or do you feel like it's kind of a
Especially
blind
if
spot
they're-
for them?
If they're offshore.
Yes,
VAs
offshore
too,
specifically.
right?
The
Do they make a distinction, or they just like
No,
lump them
they
all
do.
the same?
They
Okay.
certainly do. Because
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, in state, they're really just making sure, again, we don't have unlicensed activity. They're not getting into things that they shouldn't be. They're not, talking about rates and products and fees.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're just verifying that this person's performing clerical functions for them. When it goes offshore, then they start getting into the idea of security and making sure that we don't have any data leakage and how is information being stored. They'll start looking for more documentation showing that that company has the right security protocols in place.
Yeah, so like a broker shop that hires overseas like closers, for example, right? What do they have to look? I mean, that's somebody that has access to, like, they have an Arrive login, they have access to freaking everything. So what do they have to do to document and make sure that the right policies are in place for somebody that's in the Philippines making $6 an hour working from their home? Like, how do you document that's kosher or not?
Again, to me, that's where I would be hiring a company that's going to monitor and manage the activity that's going on through my network. Because not only are they going to monitor and manage it, but then they're going to provide me any reports associated with anything that they see that is suspicious, anything that they feel is out of the norm, and then verifying that they do, in fact, have the right security in place to make sure that data privacy is being guaranteed.
And that piece that's what you guys will do that piece, or does that get too much into the cyber?
No, that's more into the cyber. We'll ask them about what they're doing. So we're going to say, are you using offshore, VAs or processing or closing or any other service? And then what are your protocols, right? What are your policies that you have in place, and are you following them? And I think that's more often than not where some of the issues come in is they'll have written policies, but there's no evidence that they're following any of the policies. It's like, you said, yes, they have the appropriate security metrics. Show me that you've tested that or that somebody has validated that information. Yeah. And, it's as I put to a client the other day, it's like underwriting, right? It's not enough for me to tell you I make $5,000 a month. You're probably going to want to see pay stubs and W-2s to prove it.
Yeah.
Same thing goes on the compliance side. If you're showing me a policy that says these are the things that I'm doing to make sure that our customers' information is protected, show me the proof that you're actually
that
did
you're
those
actually doing
steps.
those things. Yeah.
And I'm sure often they can't.
No,
because
exactly.
they put those policies together because their lender or
Somebody else
state
wanted
regulator
them.
wanted them up front, but
Correct.
doesn't mean that they actually
They just
follow them.
generated it to check off the box. One thing that we were talking about, I guess, yesterday already, right? Yeah, that we were talking about was, or the day before that we got in at lunch, is one thing when you talk about the CFPB kind of being dismantled or however you want to frame it, and it falling on the states, what I see as a concern is that they're used to like how audits used to go, examinations used to go, but now, like we were talking, is now these state AGs are talking to each other, and then you may be at a state that really wasn't as stringent, but now your AG is looking for examples and whatever, and now these people, so you may start to inherit stricter guidance from another state. Correct. Because there isn't a centralized body that's overseeing it all technically right now.
Yeah, there's a lot more collaboration on both sides.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're seeing, we see it on the licensing side, and then we also see it on the exam or audit side, which is, they're all sharing ideas, right, and best practices. So one comes up and says, we want to see this documentation before we'll issue a license, or we want more net worth requirements. And then that's kind of starting to work its way through the rest of the crowd.
Yeah.
Same thing with exams, and with the new SES system through NMLS, the idea is that they're able to share and disseminate audit findings with other states.
Yeah.
So, you know, even if it was just a notation, it wasn't a consent order or something that would pop up under your consumer access for an NMLS account for a company, those other states are now starting to see some of those findings,
Yeah. And
which
now,
prompts them to start asking more questions. And
yeah. And you're starting to see things that you normally wouldn't see in certain states pop up.
Yep.
That has obviously been inherited from something else. So.
yeah, the other thing is I think it's the consistency, right? Or I guess in what we're seeing is the inconsistency, right? There's varying opinions from state to state on interpretation of federal guidelines.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen this with MLO compensation. We've seen it with the ever popular W-2 1099 debate that's been going on for all 30 years I've been involved in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, you'll have multi-states that have different opinions. So it's, you know, that's one of the things where we try to help people navigate that is, what if this state says one and this one says two? You know, we've got to try to collaborate between those states and find that happy medium spot where the client can operate, but they have to have clear guidance, because otherwise they're in violation of one state to be compliant with the other.
Is that 1099 versus W-2? Do you have like a definitive answer on that? Is that something, do you advise your clients against? Do you?
My you know, public record comment is it is a risk analysis in the states where they don't take a definitive position against it. You know, my personal opinion, W-2 is what the labor boards and the IRS seem to dictate. I know there's a lot of other attorneys and CPAs out there that will argue vehemently with me that that's not the case and there are exceptions, and I can appreciate their positions, right? I think it becomes more of a risk analysis for people at that point. You know, when you have a state that says you have to be W-2, you need to be paying your people on a W-2. I think the important thing for people to realize is that if a state does not have an affirmative, that doesn't automatically mean that they're saying it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
What they're saying is it's not inside their wheelhouse to enforce it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of out of their jurisdiction.
And that's
so,
it's a big one, because just for the lack of clarity doesn't mean that, like we don't have official on this, doesn't mean that you're going to be covered if something happens. So
my biggest recommendation is, if you're going to pay 1099, which I know this is a very common thing around the country, make sure that your CPA and or your attorney are on board and you guys have a cohesive approach and an explanation, and this is why we've chosen to go this route, and stay to it and be consistent. Because then at least if they say you're wrong, then you can say, okay, well, I'm going to make that change. But you want to have all the parties that need to be in congruence together, actually kind of cohesive on the same concept.
Yeah. And then as we wrap on this and get, kind of bring it back to the mastermind here, what was, one or two things that you wanted to get out of this event for your business, something that you wanted to take away? And then so far, I know we still got, the rest of this day to go, but, what so far, what's been the biggest takeaway, and what were you hoping to get out of it?
I mean, for me, I'm a use case kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to.
I mean, besides hanging out with Michael and I for 2 days,
there's that, right?
I mean, besides that, what do you?
Winning in darts?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I won all the games. I might have won most of them.
Didn't win in poker though.
Well, we'll let you guys slide. I like to see how people are doing things, right? Because I'm not direct on point, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a broker. I'm not originating. I'm not doing those things anymore. But I think there's still some crossover and commonalities. So seeing how people are utilizing, Empower and making their businesses better has been a huge thing for me. And that's one of the big things I was looking to take away. I think I mentioned to you as we broke from the last session that the list of things that we're going to need to work on here is growing pretty exponentially. But I think, my biggest takeaway is there's a lot of opportunity for us to be doing things better, more efficiently. And I think, Empower is going to be a huge part of that. So I'm excited to see where this can go and allow us to be more consistent, provide better service to our clients, and just, make us better. I'm always a fan of be better, right?
Yeah.
Every day, try to be a little bit better, and hopefully today's the worst I'll ever be.
Good hope. I like that.
Yep, dig it.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add is I thought would be kind of fun is I want you to think of a question for our next guest, and then we'll ask our next guest that question. So
I like that.
Ooh, who's the next guest?
we don't
I
know.
don't know yet.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter who it is. We're just going to ask that question.
Let's
so
see.
what question would you ask him?
If there was one component that they learned this week, or this, while we've been here, what that is and how they're going to implement it.
Okay,
Sounds good.
dig it.
You
We'll see
got
who the
that?
next victim is. I got it.
All right.
Locked in.
Cool. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us, my friend.
It's
Yeah,
been
awesome.
great.
This was we love doing these live MLO projects. I know not live
In
live,
person.
but live in person in real life.
Yes.
It's fun. Even better is
None
when
of
we
it-
actually record the audio from them. Like
Right.
that's even it's.
Hey,
We
we haven't gotten there yet. Okay, we haven't
That's
gotten
true.
there yet.
Something else could happen. I know I could be like sabotaging our whole thing, but Jim, we will put your contact info in
Absolutely.
in
Thank
the
you.
show notes. You are our compliance officer. You're our compliance expert. So we really appreciate your
thank you
time
much.
and enjoyed spending time with you down here. in
Awesome.
Palm Beach.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of Jim and Michael, I am Frazier, and this was another episode of the MLO Project, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Cool. Nice.
Good job.
Thanks for that.
How are we doing?